The blood on Lena Moreno's apron wasn't from the kitchen. She pressed her back against the cold metal shelving unit in the storage room, her breath coming in sharp, painful gasps. The fluorescent light above her flickered. Once, twice. Casting shadows that made the two men blocking the door look like monsters instead of the delivery drivers they pretended to be 30 seconds ago. "Where is it?" The taller one stepped forward, rolling his shoulders like a boxer before a fight. His knuckles were already split. Fresh blood, hers, dripped onto the concrete floor. Lena's vision blurred at the edges. Her cheekbone throbbed where his fist had connected and she could taste copper on her tongue. She had no idea what they wanted. No idea why they'd followed her to the back room, locked the door and started tearing through her pockets like animals. "I don't," she started, but the shorter man cut her off. "Your brother was real chatty before he died. Said he gave it to family. That's you, sweetheart." Only family he had left. Her brother. Denny. The grief was still raw, only 3 weeks since the funeral. 3 weeks since the police had told her it was a mugging gone wrong, that these things happen in bad neighborhoods, that there was nothing they could do. She'd known they were lying. Danny had been scared in those final days, paranoid, looking over his shoulder, calling her at odd hours just to make sure she was okay. And now these men were here in this grimy restaurant storage room that smelled like bleach and rotting produce, asking her about something Danny had supposedly given her. She had nothing. Nothing except the apron she'd been issued 4 hours ago on her first shift at Napoli's. A restaurant so unremarkable she'd almost walked past it 3 times before finding the entrance. "I don't know what you're talking about," Lena said, hating how her voice shook. "Danny didn't give me anything. I swear." The tall one smiled, and it was the worst thing she'd seen all night. "Then I guess we'll have to search a little more thoroughly." He moved toward her and Lena knew, with a certainty that made her stomach drop, that they weren't going to stop. Not until they found what they were looking for or until she was too broken to tell them anything at all. She grabbed the nearest thing, a glass bottle of olive oil, and hurled it at his face. It shattered against his forearm as he blocked it, sending golden oil spraying across the floor. He cursed, slipped slightly, and that half-second of distraction was all Lena needed to bolt toward the door. She didn't make it 3 steps. The shorter man caught her by the hair, yanking her back so hard she screamed. Her feet went out from under her on the oil-slicked floor, and she crashed into a stack of plastic crates. Pain exploded through her ribs. "Stupid bitch," he hissed, dragging her upright. "You're just making this worse." Lena clawed at his hands, her fingernails drawing blood, but his grip was iron. The tall one was recovering now, oil dripping from his jacket, murder in his eyes as he pulled something from his belt. The door exploded inward. Not opened. Not unlocked. Exploded. The entire frame splintered as someone kicked it with enough force to rip the deadbolt clean through the wood. The shorter man released Lena in shock, and she collapsed against the shelving, gasping for air, watching as a figure stepped through the destruction like death itself had come calling. The man was tall, over 6 feet, with dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from marble. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Lena made in 6 months, and his shoes, even from here, looked Italian, expensive, and completely out of place in this dive restaurant. But it wasn't his appearance that made the room go silent. It was the way he moved. Like a predator. Like someone who knew exactly how dangerous he was and didn't need to prove it. The 2 men who'd been attacking Lena froze. The color drained from their faces so fast Lena thought they might pass out. "Mr. Blackwood," the tall one stammered. We weren't expecting." "No," the man Blackwood said quietly. His voice was low, controlled, and somehow more terrifying than if he'd been shouting. "You weren't." He stepped fully into the storage room, and 3 more men followed him in, broad-shouldered, silent, positioning themselves like a well-trained unit. One of them closed what remained of the door behind them. Blackwood's gaze swept the scene. The shattered glass, the oil on the floor, Lena bleeding and trembling against the shelving. His expression didn't change, but something shifted in the air. Something that made her attackers start backing toward the far wall. "Gentlemen," Blackwood said, adjusting his cufflinks with deliberate precision. "I don't recall authorizing any personnel activities in my establishment tonight." "Your establishment?" Lena whispered, though she hadn't meant to speak aloud. Blackwood's eyes cut to her for the first time, gray, cold, assessing, and Lena felt the weight of that stare like a physical thing. He studied her for a long moment. Her split lip, her torn uniform, the way she was holding her ribs. Then he looked back at the two men. "Explain," he said. Quickly. "Hey there, beautiful people. Welcome back to the channel, or if you're new here, welcome for the first time. I can already tell this story is going to be intense, so before we dive deeper I need to know. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. I love seeing our community spread across the world. And listen, if you haven't subscribed yet, please do me a favor and hit that subscribe button right now. This story is about to take some wild turns, and you're going to want to be here for every single part. Trust me, what happens next will blow your mind. Now let's get back to Lena, those two terrifying men, and the mysterious Vittorio Blackwood who just walked in like he owns the place. Because apparently he does. The tall one, the one who'd hit her, started talking fast. "Mr. Blackwood, we had intel that Danny Moreno's sister was working here. We thought, given what Moreno stole, that we should retrieve it before consulting me?" Blackwood interrupted softly. The man's mouth snapped shut. Blackwood took a step closer to them and Lena watched both men visibly flinch. "Danny Moreno worked in my accounting department. When he disappeared with sensitive information 3 weeks ago, I made it very clear that the situation would be handled through proper channels. I don't recall instructing anyone to terrorize civilians in my restaurant." "She's not a civilian," the shorter man blurted out. "She's got the drive. Moreno told." "I don't care what Moreno told you." Blackwood's voice dropped to a lethal whisper. "You broke protocol. You acted without orders. And you did it under my roof." He gestured to the men flanking him and they moved forward like shadows. Lena's attackers didn't resist as they were seized by the arms and pulled toward the ruined door. "Take them to the warehouse," Blackwood said. "I'll deal with them after I've cleaned up this mess." "Mr. Blackwood, please," the tall one started, but he was already being dragged away, his protests fading down the hallway. And then Lena was alone with Vittorio Blackwood. He turned to face her fully now, and up close he was even more intimidating. Not because he was physically threatening, though she had no doubt he could be, but because of the sheer authority that radiated from him. This was a man used to being obeyed without question. "Miss Moreno," he said, and somehow he knew her name even though she'd only been hired this afternoon. "Are you badly hurt?" Lena wanted to laugh at the absurdity of the question. She was bleeding, her ribs were probably cracked, and she'd just been attacked in a storage room by men searching for something her dead brother supposedly stole. But Blackwood's expression remained neutral, waiting. "I'll live," she managed. "Good." He stepped closer, glass crunching under his expensive shoes, and reached into his jacket. Lena tensed, but he only pulled out a handkerchief, crisp, white, monogrammed, and held it out to her. "For your lip." She took it hesitantly, pressing the soft fabric to her mouth. It came away red. "Your brother," Blackwood said, studying her with those cold gray eyes, "worked for me. Did you know that?" Lena shook her head. Danny had told her he had an accounting job at some company downtown. He'd never mentioned names, never brought work home. Especially not in those last few weeks when he'd become so paranoid. "He was good at his job," Blackwood continued. "Very good. Too good perhaps. He saw things he shouldn't have. Copied files that didn't belong to him. And then he ran." "They killed him," Lena said, her voice breaking. "Didn't they?" "It wasn't a mugging. They killed him because of whatever he took." Blackwood's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Acknowledgement, maybe. Or calculation. "Yes," he said simply. "They did." The confirmation hit her like a physical blow. She'd known it, suspected it, but hearing it stated so matter-of-factly made it real in a way it hadn't been before. Danny was murdered. And these people, Blackwood's people, had done it. "And now you're going to kill me too," Lena whispered. "That depends," Blackwood said, "on whether you're smart enough to stay alive." He gestured to one of the remaining men who stepped forward and began carefully searching the storage room. Methodical, professional, nothing like the violent frenzy of her earlier attackers. "Your brother stole a flash drive containing information that several very powerful people would prefer remained private," Blackwood explained. "Information about money movements, political connections, operations that cross international borders. The kind of information that could dismantle empires." He paused, his gaze sharp on her face. "Those men believed your brother gave it to you before he died." "Did he?" Lena wanted to say no. Wanted to convince him she knew nothing, had nothing, was nobody worth paying attention to. But something in Blackwood's eyes told her that lying would be the last mistake she ever made. I don't know, she said honestly. Danny came to see me the night before they found him. He was scared. Really scared. We talked for maybe 20 minutes and then he left. He didn't give me anything. I swear. Blackwood considered this, his expression unreadable. What did you talk about? Nothing important. He asked about my job search. I'd just been laid off from the diner I was working at. He told me to be careful, to watch my back. He seemed like he wanted to tell me something else, but... Lena's voice caught. But he never did. He just hugged me and left. And you haven't noticed anything unusual since then? No mysterious packages? No one following you? No. Nothing. I've been barely surviving, trying to make rent. When I got the call about this job, I thought... She laughed bitterly. I thought it was finally something going right. Blackwood's mouth curved into something that might have been a smile if it had reached his eyes. Life rarely works that way, Miss Moreno. The man searching the room approached Blackwood and shook his head. Nothing found. Blackwood's attention returned to Lena, his gaze dropping to her uniform. The ugly brown apron with Napolis embroidered across the front. The cheap polyester that was already stained from tonight's shift. Take off the apron, he said. Lena's blood ran cold. What? The apron. Remove it. Now. Her hands trembled as she untied it, every movement sending fresh pain through her ribs. This was it. He was going to search her, find nothing, and decide she wasn't worth the trouble of keeping alive. She held out the crumpled apron and Blackwood took it, examining it with the same careful attention he'd given everything else tonight. He ran his fingers along the hem, the pockets, the ties. And then he stopped. His fingers had found something in the thick band of fabric at the waist. A slight irregularity, a place where the stitching was different from the rest. Lena's breath caught as Blackwood pulled a small knife from his pocket and carefully cut the stitching. The fabric parted and something small and black fell into his palm. A flash drive. Well, Blackwood said softly, holding it up to the light. It seems your brother was more clever than I gave him credit for. Lena stared at the tiny device that had gotten her brother killed, that had nearly gotten her killed tonight. I didn't know, she whispered. I swear to God I didn't know it was there. I believe you, Blackwood said, and that surprised her more than anything else that had happened tonight. He pocketed the flash drive and studied her for a long moment, weighing something, making a decision that she had no power to influence. Finally he spoke. Miss Moreno, you have two options. Option 1. You walk out of here tonight, forget everything you've seen and heard, and hope that none of my competitors discover that you were connected to this. Given what's on this drive, I'd estimate your life expectancy at approximately 72 hours. Lena's stomach turned. Option 2, Blackwood continued, his voice neutral as if he were discussing the weather. You come with me. I keep you alive while we determine exactly what your brother discovered and who else might be looking for it. Once this situation is resolved, we'll discuss your future. That's not really a choice, Lena said bitterly. No, Blackwood agreed. It isn't. But I'm a courteous man, so I like to maintain the illusion of free will. He held out his hand, an elegant gesture that was somehow more commanding than if he'd grabbed her arm. What's it going to be, Miss Moreno? Lena looked at his hand, then at his face, then at the ruined storage room around them. Blood on the floor. Broken glass. The splintered door frame where Vittorio Blackwood had entered her life like a wrecking ball. 72 hours. That's all she'd have if she walked away. 3 days of looking over her shoulder, wondering when someone would come to finish what those men had started. Or she could take the hand of a mafia boss and walk into a world she didn't understand, surrounded by people who solved problems with violence and considered murder a business expense. Some choice. But Danny had trusted her with that flash drive, even if he'd done it in a way she couldn't understand or refuse. He'd sewn it into an apron he somehow knew she'd end up wearing, banking on the fact that no one would think to look there. He'd protected her the only way he knew how, and it had gotten him killed. The least she could do was see it through. Lena took Blackwood's hand. His grip was firm, warm, and somehow that made everything worse, because it made him feel human instead of the monster she wanted him to be. Excellent choice, Blackwood said, helping her to her feet with surprising gentleness despite her injuries. Though I should warn you, Miss Moreno, the next few days are going to be significantly more complicated than your first night as a waitress. Could they be any worse? Lena asked, wincing as her ribs protested the movement. Blackwood's expression remained neutral, but there was something almost amused in his eyes. You'd be surprised, he said. And as he led her out of the storage room, past the restaurant's empty dining area where customers had been ushered out during the commotion, toward a sleek black car waiting outside like a hearse, Lena realized she'd just made a deal with the devil. She only hoped she'd live long enough to regret it. The car smelled like leather and expensive cologne. Lena pressed against the door, maintaining distance from Vittorio Blackwood as they glided through the city streets. He scrolled through his phone with casual detachment, as if he hadn't just walked into a violent attack. Where are we going? Lena asked. Somewhere secure. A hospital would be a death sentence. The people looking for that flash drive have access to those systems. Blackwood's gray eyes met hers. I have a doctor on retainer who's discreet. The car turned onto a tree-lined street in an exclusive neighborhood. Mansions behind iron gates. Security cameras everywhere. Tell me about Danny, Blackwood said suddenly. Lena's throat tightened. After our parents died, he raised me. Worked 2 jobs to keep me in school. He was protective. Private. He never talked about his work. Danny called me 3 days before he died, Lena continued, the memory sharp. 2 in the morning. He was crying. I'd never heard him cry before. He kept saying he was sorry, that he'd found something he couldn't ignore. That people were going to get hurt if he didn't do something. Her voice broke. He said he hoped I'd forgive him for not being brave enough to stay. Blackwood watched her with an unreadable expression. Your brother loved you very much. Everything he did was to protect you. Some protection. No. He painted a target on the people who think they're untouchable. You're just collateral damage he hoped to avoid. The car pulled through ornate gates to a 3-story mansion of limestone and glass, ivy climbing the walls. One of my houses, Blackwood said, stepping out. The foyer was larger than Lena's entire apartment. Marble floors, crystal chandelier, oil paintings in gilded frames. A silver-haired woman appeared. Teresa, the housekeeper. Mr. Blackwood. The doctor is waiting. Prepare the blue guest room for Miss Moreno, Blackwood instructed. She'll be staying with us. Dr. Castellano was a grandfatherly man with a gray beard who treated her injuries with gentle efficiency. Bruised ribs not broken. Split lip. Contusions that would heal. He wrapped her ribs and told her to rest. You're safe here, the doctor said as he finished. Mr. Blackwood protects what's his. I'm not his, Lena said sharply. My dear, the moment you got in that car you became his responsibility. And Vittorio Blackwood takes his responsibilities very seriously. Teresa showed her to a luxurious guest room, 4-poster bed, sitting area, French doors opening to a balcony. Don't wander, Teresa warned. Some areas are private. It's for your own safety. Am I a guest or a prisoner? In this house, those 2 things are often the same. Alone, Lena finally broke down. Great, gasping sobs for Danny, for the life she'd just lost, for the terror of not knowing what came next. 3 floors below, Vittorio Blackwood examined the flash drive with his second-in-command, James Rhodes. We've got the drive, James said. We could dispose of the girl. Clean and simple. If it were that simple, Moreno would still be alive. Vittorio turned the device in his fingers. He stumbled onto something that scared him badly enough to risk everything. I need to know what. And the girl. Vittorio thought about Lena, terrified but defiant, blood on her face but fire in her eyes. She reminded him of himself 20 years ago. She's leverage. If others come looking, we'll be ready. James left and Vittorio plugged in the flash drive. Password protected. He set his military-grade decryption software to work. It would take hours, possibly days. He poured scotch and settled in. At 42 he was wealthy, feared and respected. But he was also lonely. Everyone around him wanted something. No one just talked to him. Except Lena Moreno. She'd looked him in the eye and refused to show weakness. It was refreshing. Dangerous but refreshing. Morning arrived with sunlight and coffee. Teresa brought breakfast and new clothes. Designer jeans, cashmere sweater, all in Lena's size. Mr. Blackwood requests your presence at 10 o'clock. In the study, Blackwood looked fresh despite probably being up all night. How are you feeling? Like I was beaten up in a storage room. But alive. A hint of amusement crossed his face. Dr. Castellano says you're healing well. Can we skip the small talk? What's on the flash drive? The encryption is complex. It will take time to crack. And then what happens to me? Blackwood studied her. That depends on what we find. If the information is valuable, you become an asset. If it's damaging, you become a liability. Either way, you're safer here. So I'm a prisoner. You're a guest with limited mobility. There's a difference. Lena's anger flared. My brother died trying to expose something. Don't you want to know what? Your brother betrayed me, Blackwood said coldly. He stole from my organization. The fact that he's dead doesn't make him a hero. It just makes him unsuccessful. He was trying to do the right thing. According to whom? People create narratives to justify their actions. We won't know the truth until we see what he took. Lena wanted to argue but couldn't. Part of her wondered if Blackwood was right. But Danny loved her. Whatever he'd done, he'd believed it was right. What do I do while you're cracking the encryption? Rest. Heal. Stay out of the way. Just remember, some areas are off limits. And if I try to leave, you won't get far. And the people looking for you will find you within hours. His expression hardened. I'm keeping you alive. Try to remember that. At the door, his voice stopped her. Your brother wasn't stupid. He hit that drive with you for a reason. Maybe because he thought you'd be brave enough to use it if the time came. Use it how? That's what we're going to find out. Lena left with more questions than answers. Danny had seen something. Something worth dying for. And now she was going to find out what it was. Whether Vittorio Blackwood liked it or not. The explosion happened at 2:47 a.m. Lena jolted awake as the windows rattled, her heart hammering against her ribs. For a disoriented moment she thought it was thunder, until she heard the screaming. She ran to the French doors and threw them open. Below, in the gardens, flames consumed what looked like a security checkpoint. Men in dark suits were running, shouting orders, weapons drawn. The night had turned orange with fire. Her door burst open. Teresa stood there in a robe, her silver hair disheveled but her eyes sharp. Get dressed. No. We're moving you to the safe room. What's happening? Someone just declared war. Lena threw on jeans and a sweater, her hands shaking. Teresa grabbed her arm and pulled her into the hallway where two armed guards flanked them. They moved quickly through the mansion, down a servant's staircase Lena hadn't known existed, into the bowels of the house. They found Blackwood in a reinforced basement room filled with monitors showing security feeds. He was on the phone, his voice ice cold. I want everyone on this. No. I don't care what it costs. Find out who authorized this attack. He hung up and turned to Lena. His jaw was tight, his gray eyes darker than she'd ever seen them. Did you tell anyone you were here? What? No. I don't even know where here is. Then we have a leak. He gestured to James Rhodes, who stood by the monitors. Show her. James pulled up footage from 30 minutes ago. A van had approached the front gate, claiming to be a late-night delivery. When guards approached to verify, it exploded. A suicide bomber taking out the entire checkpoint. That's just the distraction, Blackwood said. The real attack is coming. As if on cue, alarms blared. On the monitors, Lena watched armed men, at least a dozen, scaling the walls, moving with military precision. They wore tactical gear and carried assault rifles. They're not here to rob you, Lena whispered. No. They're here for you. Or more specifically, for what your brother took. Blackwood pulled a gun from his desk drawer. Sleek, black, deadly. The encryption broke an hour ago. I know what's on the drive. What is it? Names. Bank accounts. Shipping manifests. Your brother documented a human trafficking operation that spans 3 continents and involves people in the highest levels of government. Blackwood's voice was tight with controlled fury. And according to these files, someone in my organization has been facilitating it without my knowledge. Lena's blood ran cold. Human trafficking? Children mostly. Sold to the highest bidder. Danny found the financial trail and traced it back to a network that's been operating for years. Blackwood moved to a weapons locker and began loading extra magazines. He was right to run. The people behind this will kill anyone who threatens to expose them. If you're not involved, why are they attacking you? Because I have the evidence now. Because keeping you alive means I might actually use it. His eyes met hers. And because killing me removes the one person in this city powerful enough to stop them. Gunfire erupted above them. The sharp crack of assault rifles answered by the deeper boom of Blackwood's security team returning fire. James swore. They're in the house. East wing. Blackwood grabbed Lena's arm. There's a tunnel. It leads to a safe house 2 miles from here. James will take you. No. Lena pulled back. If they're here for the drive, give it to them. Let me go. This isn't my fight. It became your fight the moment your brother decided to be a hero. Blackwood's grip tightened. And I don't surrender. Not to anyone. An explosion rocked the basement. Dust rained from the ceiling and the lights flickered. They're breaching the reinforced doors, James shouted. We've got maybe 3 minutes. Blackwood made a decision. He pulled the flash drive from his pocket and pressed it into Lena's hand, closing her fingers around it. The tunnel. No. James, get her out. I'll hold them here. You can't fight them all, Lena said, stunned. Watch me. Blackwood checked his weapon with practiced efficiency. These people traffic children, Miss Moreno. They destroy lives for profit. Your brother died trying to stop them, and I'll be damned if I let his sacrifice mean nothing. For the first time since she'd met him, Lena saw something other than cold calculation in Vittorio Blackwood's eyes. She saw rage. Pure righteous fury. There's a reporter, Blackwood said quickly. Sophia Grant. Investigative journalist. If anything happens to me, take that drive to her. She'll know what to do with it. Nothing's going to happen to you, Lena said and realized she meant it. Blackwood smiled. A real smile that transformed his face. You're braver than your brother gave you credit for. Another explosion. Closer this time. Go. Blackwood shouted. James grabbed Lena and pulled her toward a hidden panel in the wall. It slid open to reveal a dark tunnel lit by emergency lights. Behind them, Lena heard the basement door explode inward, heard Blackwood open fire, heard men shouting and dying. As James dragged her into the tunnel and the panel slid shut behind them, Lena clutched the flash drive that had already cost so many lives. Danny had tried to stop monsters. Now it was her turn. The tunnel smelled like earth and concrete. Emergency lights cast red shadows as Lena ran beside James Rhodes, her lungs burning, the flash drive clutched in her fist like a lifeline. Behind them, muffled gunfire echoed through the walls. Each shot made Lena flinch, made her think of Blackwood alone in that basement, outnumbered and outgunned. He'll be fine, James grunted as if reading her thoughts. Vic survived worse. How much worse? You don't want to know. The tunnel ended at a steel ladder leading up to a hatch. James climbed first, checked the exit, then hauled Lena up into a small garage. A nondescript sedan waited, keys in the ignition. Get in, James ordered. We're going to the safe house. Lena slid into the passenger seat, her whole body shaking with adrenaline. James started the engine and pulled out onto a quiet residential street. Normal houses. Normal lives. No one here knew that 2 miles away people were trying to kill each other over a tiny piece of plastic. Who's Sophia Grant? Lena asked. Journalist. Pulitzer Prize winner. She's been investigating corruption for 20 years. If anyone can expose this trafficking ring, it's her. James's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. But she's also a target. Anyone associated with her ends up dead or disappeared. Danny contacted her, didn't he? Before he died. James glanced at her. Smart girl. Yeah. He reached out 3 weeks ago, said he had evidence. She agreed to meet him. He never showed up to the meeting. Because he'd been murdered first. Lena stared at the flash drive in her palm. This small thing, no bigger than her thumb, contained proof of horrors she could barely imagine. Children stolen, sold, destroyed. And powerful people who would kill anyone who threatened to expose them. Why didn't Blackwood know? Lena asked. About the trafficking network in his organization? James's jaw tightened. Because someone's been careful. Very careful. They've been using Vic's shipping routes, his warehouses, his legitimate business operations as cover. Making it look like he's involved, so if it ever gets exposed he takes the fall. He's being framed. Exactly. And whoever's doing it has access to everything. Financial records, security protocols, personnel files. James turned onto a highway accelerating. That's why the attack tonight was so precise. They knew exactly where to hit, when to hit, how to breach the defenses. You have a mole. Vic will find them. And when he does. James didn't finish, but his expression said enough. They drove in silence for 10 minutes before Lena noticed the car following them. Black SUV, 3 cars back, matching their speed perfectly. James. I see them. His voice was calm, but his hand moved to the gun on his hip. Hold on. He swerved onto an exit ramp, tires squealing. The SUV followed. James accelerated through a red light, turned hard into an industrial area, trying to lose them in the maze of warehouses and storage facilities. But there was a second SUV waiting ahead, blocking the road. James slammed the brakes. Get down. Bullets shattered the windshield. Lena screamed, ducking low as James returned fire through the broken glass. He threw the car into reverse, but the first SUV had caught up, boxing them in. Out. Now. James kicked open his door and pulled Lena with him, using the car as cover. More gunfire. The rear window exploded. James grabbed her hand and ran, pulling her between warehouses into the shadows. Men shouted behind them, boots pounding on pavement. They were being hunted. James shoved Lena into a narrow gap between buildings. Listen to me. If they catch us, they'll torture you until you give them that drive, then kill you anyway. You need to run. What about you? I'll buy you time. He pressed a phone into her hand. One number programmed. Sophia Grant. Call her. Tell her Danny Moreno's sister has the evidence. She'll know what to do. James. Go. He pushed her deeper into the gap. And Lena, don't let them die for nothing. Not Danny. Not Vic, make this count. He disappeared back toward the main alley, firing his weapon, shouting to draw their pursuers away from her. Lena ran. She ran until her lungs screamed, until her legs felt like they would collapse, until she emerged onto a busier street with cars and streetlights and people who had no idea what was happening in the darkness behind her. She ducked into a 24-hour diner, locked herself in the bathroom, and dialed the only number in James's phone. It rang 3 times before a woman answered. Who is this? My name is Lena Moreno. Danny Moreno was my brother. He tried to give you evidence about a trafficking network. They killed him before he could. Silence. Then, where are you? I don't know. A diner. They're hunting me. They attacked Vittorio Blackwood's mansion tonight, and I escaped with the flash drive. James Rhodes said you'd know what to do. Is James alive? Lena's throat tightened. I don't know. He stayed behind so I could run. Another pause. Sophia Grant was thinking, calculating. Hey. Listen carefully. Stay in that diner. Public place, lots of witnesses. Order coffee, act normal. I'm sending someone to get you. His name is Ryan Connor. Former detective, works with me now. He'll be there in 20 minutes. How will I know it's him? He'll ask if you want sugar with your coffee. You say, I prefer it bitter. Got it. Got it. Lena, your brother was brave. He tried to save a lot of kids. Now you get to finish what he started. The line went dead. Lena washed the dirt from her face, smoothed her hair, and walked out of the bathroom like she was just another customer. She ordered coffee from a bored waitress and sat in a booth by the window where she could watch the street. The flash drive was in her pocket. Her brother's legacy. Her burden now. 23 minutes later, a man in his 40s with tired eyes and a detective's watchful expression slid into the booth across from her. Sugar with your coffee? He asked quietly. I prefer it bitter. Ryan Connor nodded. Let's get you somewhere safe. We've got work to do. As they stood to leave, Lena's phone, the one James had given her, buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Still breathing. Barely. Vic's alive too. Finish this. J. Lena exhaled the breath she'd been holding. They were alive. Both of them. Now she had to make sure they hadn't fought for nothing. Ryan Connor's safe house was a 3rd-floor apartment above a laundromat in a neighborhood where people minded their own business. Sophia Grant was already there when they arrived. A woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and silver-streaked hair pulled back in a severe bun. Let me see it, she said without preamble. Lena handed over the flash drive. Sophia plugged it into her laptop, and for 5 minutes, the only sound was her fingers flying across the keyboard and the occasional sharp intake of breath. Finally she sat back. Jesus Christ. Danny didn't just find evidence. He found everything. Financial transactions going back 7 years. Shell companies. Offshore accounts. Shipping manifests with coded language that's clearly human cargo. She looked at Lena with something like awe. Your brother was incredibly thorough. This could bring down 100 people. Who's at the top? Lena asked. Sophia's expression darkened. That's the problem. The money flows through so many channels it's hard to trace. But Danny managed to crack it. He found the source. He turned the laptop around. On the screen was a photograph of a distinguished man in his 60s. Silver hair, expensive suit, warm smile. He looked like someone's grandfather. Robert Castellano, Sophia said. Philanthropist. Sits on the boards of 3 children's charities. Major donor to anti-trafficking organizations. Her voice dripped with disgust. And according to these files, he's been running the largest trafficking network in North America for over a decade. Lena felt sick. Castellano. That's the doctor. The one who treated me at Blackwood's mansion. The room went silent. Ryan swore. That's how they knew where you were. The doctor reported back. He had access to the entire mansion, the security protocols, everything. Blackwood trusted him, Lena whispered. For years. Castellano's been embedding himself in criminal organizations across the city, Sophia explained. Offering his services, gaining trust, learning secrets. Then using that information to expand his trafficking operation while staying above suspicion. He's brilliant. And he's a monster. Lena's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Answer your next call. Alone. V. Seconds later it rang. Lena stepped into the bedroom and closed the door. Blackwood. Lena. His voice was rough, strained with pain. Are you safe? Yes. I'm with Sophia Grant. James told you. James is in surgery. Took 3 bullets getting away from those bastards. But he'll live. A pause heavy with things unsaid. Did you access the drive? Sophia did. We know who's behind it. Blackwood, it's Castellano. I know. I figured it out an hour ago. His voice was bitter. The man I trusted to treat my people, to keep their secrets, has been selling children for profit. Using my organization as his cover. He treated me. He was in your house. He could have killed me any time. No. He needed you alive until he knew whether you'd found the drive. Once my security was breached tonight, he knew I had it. That's when you became expendable. Blackwood's breathing was labored. Are you hurt? I'm fine. Are you? A dark laugh. I'll live. Takes more than a dozen mercenaries to kill me. Where are you? Somewhere safe. Cleaning up the mess. But Lena, listen to me carefully. Castellano won't stop. He's got resources, connections in law enforcement, politicians in his pocket. If you go public with this, he'll come for me. I know. But what choice do I have? If we don't expose him, everything Danny died for means nothing. Silence. Then quieter. Your brother would be proud of you. Lena's eyes burned. He'd probably think I was insane. Maybe. But he was insane first. It's apparently genetic. Another pause. I'm coming to get you. Sophia's safe house is compromised. Castellano has people watching her. You need to move. Now. How do you know where I am? I know everything, Miss Moreno. It's why I'm still alive. The line went dead. Lena returned to the living room just as Ryan's phone rang. His face went pale as he listened. Understood. Moving now. What? Sophia demanded. Police scanner just lit up. Multiple units dispatched to this address. Anonymous tip about suspicious activity. Ryan was already packing the laptop. Castellano's using law enforcement to flush us out. We need to go, Lena said. Blackwood's coming to get me. He says this location is compromised. Sophia and Ryan exchanged looks. You trust him? Sophia asked. He's kept me alive so far. And he hates Castellano as much as we do. The enemy of my enemy, Ryan muttered. Fine. But I'm staying with you. No offense to your Mafia boyfriend, but I don't trust anyone right now. He's not my, Lena started, but sirens in the distance cut her off. They moved fast down the back stairs and into an alley. A sleek black car pulled up, different from the one Lena remembered, but she recognized the man in the back seat immediately. Vittorio Blackwood looked like hell. His shirt was torn and blood-stained, a bandage wrapped around his left shoulder, bruises darkening his jaw. But his eyes were still sharp, still dangerous. "Get in," he said. They piled into the car. The driver, a woman Lena hadn't met, pulled away smoothly as police cars screamed past toward the safe house. Blackwood studied Ryan and Sophia with cold assessment. The journalist and the detective. Danny chose his allies well. "Can you protect her?" Sophia asked bluntly. "Because right now, every corrupt cop and politician in Castellano's pocket is looking for this girl. I can protect her. Question is whether you can expose him before he disappears. Men like Castellano always have exit strategies." "We publish everything," Sophia said. "Tonight. Every document, every transaction, every name. Put it all out there before he can run or destroy evidence. And make Lena a target for everyone implicated," Blackwood countered. "The moment those files go public, she becomes the star witness in the biggest trafficking case in decades. They'll never stop hunting her." Lena found her voice. "Then what do you suggest? Let him keep destroying lives because exposing him is inconvenient." Blackwood's gray eyes met hers and something passed between them. Understanding, respect, recognition. "No. We destroy him completely. But we do it smart. Controlled. Make sure when he falls he takes everyone else down with him and can't reach you from prison." "How?" Ryan asked. A predatory smile crossed Blackwood's face. "We give Castellano exactly what he wants. We let him think he's won. And then we bury him." "That's insane," Sophia said. "Yes," Blackwood agreed. "But it might work." Lena looked at this strange alliance. A mafia boss, a journalist, a former detective, and her. United by a dead accountant's evidence and the desire to stop a monster. "What's the plan?" she asked. Blackwood's smile widened. "We're going to make Robert Castellano believe I'm willing to trade you for peace. A meeting. Neutral ground. He gets you, I get to keep my empire intact. Except I won't really be trading her," he continued, his eyes never leaving Lena's face. "I'll be recording everything. His confession. His demands. Every word he says condemning himself. And when we have enough, we don't just publish the files. We deliver him and the recording to every news outlet, federal agency, and international court that will listen." "He'll never confess," Ryan said. "He will if he thinks he's already won. Arrogance makes people careless." Blackwood leaned forward despite the obvious pain. "But it's Lena's choice. This means putting herself in his presence. Facing the man who had your brother killed." Lena thought of Danny's voice on that final phone call. The fear. The determination to do the right thing even knowing it would cost him everything. "When do we do this?" she asked. Blackwood smiled like she'd just confirmed something he'd suspected. "Tomorrow night. I'll set the meeting. Castellano won't be able to resist." The meeting was set for an abandoned warehouse by the docks. Neutral territory, or so Castellano believed. Lena wore a wire hidden under her jacket, her heart hammering as Blackwood's car pulled up to the rusted building. He'd wanted to come with her, but Castellano had been clear. Lena alone or no deal. "I'll be listening," Blackwood had said before she left his temporary safe house. His hand had lingered on her shoulder, his touch gentle despite the violence in his eyes. "The moment he threatens you, we move in." "He's already threatened me," Lena had replied. "He just doesn't know I'm threatening him back." Now, walking into the dark warehouse, she wasn't sure if that bravery had been real or foolish. Castellano waited in the center of the vast space, looking exactly as he had when he'd treated her injuries. Kind, grandfatherly, harmless. The perfect disguise. "Lena, my dear," he said warmly. "I'm glad you came to your senses. This could have been resolved so much more peacefully." "You killed my brother," Lena said, keeping her voice steady. "I gave the order, yes. He was going to destroy something beautiful. A system that's helped hundreds of wealthy clients and generated billions in revenue. Surely you understand business." "Business? You traffic children." Castellano's smile never wavered. "I provide a service. Supply and demand. The world has always had such arrangements. I simply modernized the process." The wire was recording every word. "Just a little more. And Blackwood? You've been using his organization for years. Vittorio is a useful fool. So concerned with his little empire he never saw what was happening right under his nose. His shipping routes, his warehouses, his protection, all serving my purposes. Castellano stepped closer. But you've complicated things. That flash drive has forced me to adjust my timeline. What do you mean? I mean I'm leaving the country tonight. But first I need to tie up loose ends. He gestured and men emerged from the shadows, 6 of them heavily armed. The wire you're wearing will be destroyed. Your body will never be found. And Vittorio Blackwood will spend the rest of his shortened life wondering why he trusted the wrong people. Terror flooded through Lena. Blackwood knows I'm here. He's listening. No, my dear. He's listening to static. I've had signal jammers running since before you arrived. Castellano's expression finally matched his nature. Cold, calculating, cruel. Did you really think I'd confess without precautions? The warehouse doors exploded inward. But it wasn't Blackwood's team. It was police. Dozens of them, SWAT gear, weapons trained on everyone. Nobody move, a commander shouted. Lena's blood turned to ice. These were Castellano's people. Corrupt cops on his payroll. Castellano smiled. As I said, loose ends. The commander approached Lena. Lena Moreno, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, theft of corporate documents, and association with known criminal organizations. What? No, he's the one. We have testimony placing you at multiple crime scenes, including the attack on Mr. Blackwood's residence. The commander pulled out handcuffs. You have the right to remain silent. Through the warehouse windows, Lena saw more police vehicles arriving. A perimeter forming. No escape. Castellano leaned close as they cuffed her. You'll die in custody. A tragic suicide. And the flash drive will disappear into evidence where I control who sees it. He patted her cheek like she was a child. Your brother died for nothing. And so will you. They dragged her toward a police van and Lena's last thought before the doors closed was of Vittorio Blackwood, listening to static, not knowing she'd just lost everything. The darkness was complete. The police van never made it to the station. 3 blocks from the warehouse, the vehicle lurched to a stop. Lena heard shouting, gunfire, and then the back doors flew open. Ryan Connor stood there, weapon drawn, a grim smile on his face. Sorry for the delay. Traffic was hell. He cut her cuffs while chaos erupted around them. The police escort was pinned down by Blackwood's team. Real firepower, military precision, nothing held back. How? Lena started. Blackwood knew it was a trap, Ryan said, pulling her from the van. The signal jammer was the tell. He had eyes on the warehouse from 3 different positions. The moment those cops showed up, he knew Castellano had played his hand. They ran to an armored SUV where Sophia waited with a laptop. Get in. We're not done yet. As they sped away, Sophia turned the screen toward Lena. The wire didn't work, but Blackwood had backup. Parabolic microphones. Long-range audio surveillance. We got every word, Castellano said. His confession, his plans, everything. And we're not the only ones who heard it, Ryan added. Sophia live-streamed the whole thing. Not to the public, too easy for Castellano to spin. But to every federal agency, international law enforcement organization, and anti-trafficking task force simultaneously. It hit 200 inboxes 5 minutes ago. Lena felt hope flicker for the first time since entering that warehouse. He can't stop that many people. He can't stop any of them now. His corrupt cops can't help him. His political connections can't save him. He's toxic. Sophia's smile was fierce. The manhunt started 3 minutes ago. Every agency wants to be the one to bring him in. Where's Blackwood? Lena asked. Ryan's expression darkened. Making sure Castellano doesn't escape. He took James, fresh out of surgery against doctor's orders, and went hunting. He's wounded. He can barely stand. Which is why we're heading there now. Ryan turned the SUV hard, accelerating toward the docks. Castellano has a boat waiting. Private yacht, probably headed for international waters. If he makes it out. He won't, Lena said with sudden certainty. She grabbed Ryan's phone and dialed the number Blackwood had called from earlier. He answered on the first ring. Lena. Are you safe? Are you? He could hear wind, water, the sound of an engine. Tell me you're not doing something stupid. I'm preventing a child trafficker from escaping justice. Some would call that heroic. Vittorio. She used his first name for the first time and heard him inhale sharply. Don't die on me. I just figured out you're not actually a monster. Pause. Then quieter. I'm touched. Truly. But I can't let him go, Lena. Not after what he's done. Not after Danny. Then let me help. We're 5 minutes out. Absolutely not. You've done enough. My brother started this fight. I'm going to finish it. Her voice was steel. 5 minutes, Blackwood. Don't do anything stupid until I get there. She hung up before he could argue. Sophia looked at her with something like admiration. You're either very brave or very crazy. Apparently it's genetic, Lena said, echoing Blackwood's earlier words. The yacht came into view, sleek, expensive, already pulling away from the dock. But another boat was pursuing it, Blackwood standing at the bow like some avenging angel, dark coat whipping in the wind. Hold on, Ryan warned and aimed the SUV straight for the dock. This was it. The final confrontation. And Lena was done being rescued. It was time to fight back. Ryan's boat caught up to Castellano's yacht as federal helicopters appeared on the horizon. Backup finally arriving, but too late to matter. This would end here. No. Lena jumped from Ryan's boat onto the yacht's swim platform, Blackwood right behind her despite his injuries. His face was pale but his aim was steady as they stormed the deck. Castellano stood at the helm, 2 bodyguards flanking him. When he saw Lena, rage twisted his grandfatherly features into something ugly. You should be dead, he snarled. People keep saying that. I'm starting to take it personally. Lena held up her phone showing the livestream counter. 237 federal agents watched you confess. It's over. It's never over. I have resources. Had, Blackwood corrected, stepping forward. Your accounts are frozen. Your associates are turning on each other. Your network is collapsing as we speak. His voice was cold as death. You're finished, Robert. Castellano's bodyguards shifted nervously. The helicopters were closing in, searchlights cutting through the darkness. You can't kill me, Castellano said desperately. Not with all those witnesses watching. Kill you? Blackwood's smile was terrible. No. That would be mercy. You're going to stand trial. Every child you trafficked, every life you destroyed, it's all going public. Your name will be synonymous with evil. And you'll spend the rest of your miserable life in a cell, knowing that a dead accountant and his brave sister destroyed everything you built. Castellano lunged for Lena, but she was ready. All the fear, the grief, the rage she'd carried since Danny's death, she channeled it into one perfect punch that connected with his jaw and sent him sprawling. That's for my brother, she said. The bodyguards surrendered as federal agents rappelled onto the yacht. They hauled Castellano to his feet, reading him his rights while he screamed threats that no one cared about anymore. Blackwood pulled Lena aside as the agents secured the scene. His hand found hers, his thumb brushing her bruised knuckles. Nice punch, he said softly. Had a good teacher in self-preservation. She looked up at him, this dangerous, complicated man who'd protected her when he had no reason to. Thank you. For everything. You saved yourself, Lena. I just provided the resources. His gray eyes held hers. Your brother would be proud. So would yours probably. If you had one. A real smile crossed his face. I have James. Close enough. The helicopters descended, the federal agents took control, and Sophia was already on her phone coordinating with news outlets worldwide. By morning, Robert Castellano's empire would be exposed completely. Lena leaned against the railing, exhausted, watching the city lights in the distance. Blackwood stood beside her, close enough that their shoulders touched. What happens now? She asked quietly. Now. You testify. You help put him away forever. And then. He hesitated. Then you get to decide who you want to be. The scared waitress who walked into that restaurant, or the woman who brought down a trafficking empire. Can I be both? You already are. His hand covered hers on the railing. But if you need time to figure that out, I can wait. Lena turned to face him fully. Wait for what? For you to decide if you can forgive me for being what I am. For involving you in my world. For... She kissed him. Brief, soft, silencing his doubts. I'm not forgiving you, she said against his lips. I'm choosing you. There's a difference. Vittorio Blackwood pulled her closer, careful of his injuries and hers, and kissed her properly. a promise of something new beginning in the wreckage of what had been destroyed. Behind them, Castellano was being led away in handcuffs. Justice finally for Danny and all the others. 6 months later. The courtroom was packed. Lena sat in the witness box, her hands steady despite every camera in the room pointed at her. She testified for 3 days straight. About Danny, about the flash drive, about everything that had led to this moment. Across the room, Robert Castellano sat at the defense table, his expensive suit unable to disguise the broken man beneath. His empire had crumbled spectacularly. 47 arrests across 3 continents. Over 200 trafficking victims rescued and reunited with families. His name had become shorthand for evil, exactly as Vittorio had promised. Miss Moreno, the prosecutor said gently, can you tell the court what your brother said to you in that final phone call? Lena took a breath. She told this story so many times, but it never got easier. He said he'd found something he couldn't ignore. That people were going to get hurt if he didn't act. And he said. Her voice caught. He said he hoped I'd forgive him for not being brave enough to stay. But he was brave, wasn't he? He was the bravest person I've ever known. Lena looked directly at Castellano. He gave his life to stop a monster. And he succeeded. The jury deliberated for less than 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Life in prison without possibility of parole. Sophia Grant's exposé had won her a second Pulitzer Prize. The story had sparked an international reckoning. Governments fell, laws changed, anti-trafficking organizations received unprecedented funding. Danny's evidence had started a revolution. Outside the courthouse, Lena was surrounded by reporters. She'd gotten used to the attention, though she'd never liked it. Miss Moreno, how does it feel to finally see justice? Do you have any plans to write a book about your experience? Is it true you're in a relationship with Vittorio Blackwood? That last question made her smile. She spotted him across the courthouse steps, keeping his distance because his presence would complicate things, but there nonetheless. Watching. Waiting. Always. No comment, she told the reporters and walked away. 3 weeks later, Lena stood in front of a building that hadn't existed 6 months ago. The sign read, the Danny Moreno Foundation for Exploited Children. It had been her idea. Vittorio had provided the funding. Anonymous, untraceable, his way of honoring the man whose courage had exposed corruption even Blackwood hadn't known existed. The foundation offered shelter, counseling, legal assistance, and job training for trafficking survivors. Sophia sat on the board. Ryan handled security. James, fully recovered and walking with only a slight limp, managed operations. And Lena ran it all. You're going to be late for the ribbon cutting, a familiar voice said behind her. She turned to find Vittorio approaching, dressed more casually than she'd ever seen him. Dark jeans, a leather jacket, looking more human than criminal kingpin. I was just thinking, Lena said. 6 months ago I was desperate for a waitressing job. Now I'm running a foundation that's already helped 60 kids rebuild their lives. You were always capable of this. You just needed to believe it. He stepped closer, his hand finding hers naturally now. Danny knew. That's why he trusted you with everything. Their relationship had been complicated from the start. He was still who he was. A man who operated in shadows, who made decisions most people would call immoral. But he'd also dismantled the parts of his organization that Castellano had corrupted, turned legitimate, started using his resources to actually help people. I'm not a good man, he told her one night, lying beside her in his bed, vulnerable in the darkness. I've done things I can't take back. Hurt people who probably didn't deserve it. I know, she'd replied. I'm not asking you to be good. I'm asking you to be better. And you are. Because of you. No, because of you. I just reminded you that you had a choice. Now, standing in front of Danny's foundation, she squeezed Vittorio's hand. He'd like this, Danny. He'd like that something good came from what he did. He'd like that his sister is happy. Vittorio pulled her closer. Are you happy? Lena considered. She still had nightmares about the warehouse, about Castellano's cold eyes, about the moment she thought she'd lost everything. She still missed Danny with an ache that never quite faded. She still worried about the danger that came with loving a man like Vittorio Blackwood. But she also woke up every morning with purpose. She helped kids who'd survived the unthinkable rebuild their lives. She'd found a family in the most unlikely people. Sophia's fierce protectiveness, Ryan's steady loyalty, James's dark humor, Teresa's mothering from Vittorio's household. And she'd found love with someone who saw exactly who she was and chose her anyway. Yeah, she said softly. I'm happy. Good. He kissed her forehead. Now come on. There are about 50 people waiting to hear you speak. The ribbon cutting was beautiful. Survivors shared their stories. Politicians made speeches about reform. The media covered it extensively, another chapter in the saga that had captivated the nation. But the moment that mattered most came at the end, when a teenage girl approached Lena nervously. Miss Moreno? I'm Jasmine. I was one of the kids they took 3 years ago. Your brother's evidence helped find me. Tears streamed down her face. I just wanted to say thank you. For not giving up. For fighting even when it was scary. Lena hugged her tight. You fought too. You survived. That took so much courage. I'm starting college next month, Jasmine said proudly. Psychology. I want to help other kids like me. After Jasmine left, Lena stood watching the celebration. All these people, all these second chances, all this hope built on the foundation of her brother's sacrifice. Vittorio appeared beside her with 2 glasses of champagne. To Danny, he said, raising his glass. To Danny, Lena echoed. And to everyone who refuses to look away from evil. Who fights even when it's terrifying. Who believes the world can be better. They clinked glasses and drank. That evening, back at Vittorio's mansion, which had become her home too, though she kept her apartment for the principle of it, they stood on the balcony overlooking the gardens where this had all begun. Do you ever regret it? Vittorio asked quietly. Taking my hand that night? Walking into this life? Lena thought about the scared woman in that storage room, bleeding and terrified with no idea what was coming. That woman had been so small, so convinced she couldn't handle anything more than survival. But she'd been wrong. No regrets, Lena said firmly. Danny didn't die for nothing. Castellano's in prison. Kids are being saved. And I found you. I found you first, Vittorio corrected with a slight smile. You just decided to keep me. Best decision I ever made. He pulled her close and they stood there as the sun set over the city. A mafia boss and a waitress who'd become so much more, bound together by tragedy and forged into something unbreakable. Somewhere Lena liked to think Danny was watching. Proud of his little sister. Proud that his courage had mattered. The flash drive that had started everything sat in an evidence lockup, its secrets exposed, its power spent. But the legacy it left behind, the lives saved, the laws changed, the foundation built in its wake, that would endure forever. And Lena Moreno, who'd once thought she was nobody special, had learned the truth. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to fight anyway. It's taking the hand offered in the darkness. It's believing that even broken things can be rebuilt into something beautiful. She'd found her strength in the worst moment of her life. And she'd never let it go again. Thank you so much for watching this story unfold. If you made it to the end, drop a comment telling me what your favorite moment was. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I've got so many more emotional stories coming your way. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, remember, you're stronger than you know, braver than you believe, and capable of more than you imagine. Stay blessed, stay strong, and I'll see you in the next story.